let's talk about let's do a little bit of WNBA, man. Caitlin Clark.
Oh boy.
She is a lightning rod in the WNBA this season. She's been at the center of multiple recent WNBA controversies, primarily involving alleged flopping, heated exchanges with referees, and the amount of technical fouls that is threatening a automatic league suspension that she has right now. Aside from that, Clark frequently faces intense physical play, hard screens, and aggressive defense from opponents, a reality that has sparked ongoing debate across the league. While some attribute this treatment simply to her high-profile status and competitive intensity, and the competitive intensity of the WNBA, coaches and analysts have frequently condemned the hard fouls and cheap shots directed at the Indiana Fever star. These on-court battles often translate into heated exchanges with referees, which many attribute to Clark's high technical foul count so far this season. Currently, Clark is one technical foul away from an automatic one-game suspension. The physical play led a group of 11 Republican lawmakers, led by Representative August Pfluger, to send a letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, demanding accountability for the on-court physical treatment of the Indiana Fever star. The letter raised concerns about potential civil rights violations and referenced specific incidents, such as a play where Clark was struck in the throat. Clark and the Indiana Fever both released statements clarifying that they had no involvement with the group and they had no knowledge of the letter prior to it being sent. So let me ask the people's champ, are Caitlin Clark's civil rights being violated? And should the WNBA look into the physical play directed at her?
Man, somewhere Sean Payton is shaking his head like soft. Straight soft. Man, this has got to be some of the dumbest shit of all time where we are talking sports. Civil rights. Has anyone like smeared feces in her hotel room?
I don't think so.
Or thrown urine at her bus when the team gets ready to leave or anything like that?
No, I don't think.
Have any cyber porn been made of her and sent to her locker room?
I don't think so. I don't think anything.
I mean, if we talking civil rights, because that did actually happen to Angel Reese.
Yeah.
And which going to lead to my ultimate point. And this is going to piss people off. I love me some Angel Reese.
I do.
But I really hate that you did the Tony Yayo to that girl when y'all beat her for that national championship. Because ever since that day, Caitlin Clark has been the gift and the curse of women's basketball. I mean, she probably could have just slid in under the radar in the WNBA as like, another great college player coming to the league. But all of the different agendas and flags that people represent,
yeah,
I mean, all of them, pick one.
Yeah, I agree.
That all collide because of her is nuts, bruh. And and the thing about it is, does it really work? Because, I mean, the ratings are still a struggle.
Yeah. Listen.
So it's like, what's it all for? It's just like
her civil rights being violated is that's hilarious.
Man, dude.
Yes, as far as I know, she hasn't been denied any public accommodations. Nobody has denied her the ability to sit anywhere, go anywhere, or do anything. She hadn't been locked out of anywhere because of her race, gender, national origin.
Like, did the Falcons we're not playing y'all tonight if Caitlin Clark suits up. We ain't playing that. Yes, we ain't doing it.
But listen. And I don't think a special investigation needs to happen because of the physical play. But, listen, in fairness to Caitlin Clark, man, other than arguing calls with refs on the floor, I haven't really seen her lament any of the rough play. not all that much. You know, she may have said something here and there, but she doesn't really complain about it all that much. She does argue calls on the floor.
Oh yeah. All about
No. Yeah, I said other than arguing, but
she's Luka-esque.
yeah, but no, but a lot of players argue calls on the floor. I'm like, that I don't really count. It's not. She ain't at press conferences like they beating me up, they doing stuff.
Oh
to me.
no.
Yeah.
But on the floor, she's Luka-esque.
Yeah. See, she argues calls on the floor, but I don't count that. You know, I don't think that.
Yeah, no one ever fouls.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and everybody think that they get hit. Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt that she has raised the profile of the league. She certainly has been a part of it anyway. There's concrete evidence to suggest that she is one of the most significant catalysts financially in WNBA history.
Without question.
There are financial studies to suggest that she generates over 25% of the league's revenue, give or take. And there was another individual who did something similar in our lifetime, and his name was Michael Jordan. Specifically, he generated about $10 billion in global value during his playing career. He spiked national TV ratings. He boosted merchandise revenue by 20%. He boosted the entire league's valuation over the time of his playing career. And much like Caitlin Clark, his competitors didn't give a damn. They fouled him hard, not just the Pistons either. Everybody fouled everybody hard. They trash talked him. They tried to stop him from making those spectacular dunks that were putting the league on the global stage.
Froze him out of his first All-Star game.
Yep, and they obstructed him. They surrounded him in the paint. They elbowed him. They knocked him around. And he hit the gym and got stronger. And he raised his level of mental toughness. He got hungrier, and he wanted to win even more. And that's what you do. Your competitors ain't supposed to care about the fact that you're good for the league.
Yeah.
They're your competitors. And I think that's what the general public doesn't understand. They're not supposed to kowtow to you and not play you as hard as they possibly can, even bump you around some, because that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, man.
Nobody cares outside of your fans. They're the ones that are supposed to adore you, not your competitors. Your competitors are supposed to play you tough and hard and physical, and that's exactly what happens. And yeah, you listen, we saw it happen with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was raising the profile of the NBA. He was the biggest thing in the NBA, and his competitors did not care. They went at him even harder, as a matter of fact, and that's exactly what Caitlin Clark is experiencing.
And on the court.
Yes, on the court. Yeah, absolutely.
You're 100% right. Yeah. But this whole civil rights thing,
I mean, that is ridiculous.
But see, that's the silliness, but see, that's the tragedy that comes with her star power, because I feel that a lot of her not to her fault, not to any fault of hers, but a lot of her star power comes from a bad place.
You're absolutely right.
Like a lot of her, I wouldn't even call them fans, because a lot of these folks don't watch the game.
They don't.
But a lot of the echoes around the rough play, or whatever you want to call it, and the profile that the WNBA has experienced, it comes from people that don't necessarily like the product or know the product or watch the product.
Yeah, I agree.
They're
or appreciate it even.
Yeah, they're cheering for her in spite of the league, which is nuts.
Exactly.
So
I agree.
So that's like the crazy part about it. Whereas with Jordan, you hated him because he was killing your team.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't hate him because he was going against this league that was against everything we think society should be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. You know?
Yeah, no, and I think, and more to the point, I mean, I think a lot of fans like Caitlin Clark,
basketball
even
fans,
even basketball fans. I just think that my point is that the competitors are not supposed to care.
Right, for sure.
Competitors don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about what you're doing for the league.
No.
When you get on the floor, What you got, nephew?
And if them being pissed off that there are extra eyes on you leads them to play you harder and more physical, guess what? Welcome to the life of a superstar.
Exactly. Step up to the challenge. Go ahead, Neff.
So I got a couple of comments in the chat. First one from Adam Hurley. He said this towards the beginning of the segment. He was saying that he's a Caitlyn fan, but I like Reese too. And then Jacko Robert, he said eyes gouging, fist to the throat, and knee to the ground, all part of the game. I don't think so.
No, I'm not saying that it's all a part of the game. They're definitely fouls. And they're definitely violations. And people should be punished if they do things outside of the rules. I'm not saying anybody should get away with anything that is outside of the lines. But, you know, I just think that people are just playing hard and physical. And she's not the only one that gets kneed and elbowed. There's other people that get kneed and elbowed, too.
And none of those things constitute an 11-person congressional committee to investigate whether or not her civil rights are being violated.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, and none of that constitutes a civil rights violation.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Civil rights violations mean that you have been denied a public accommodation because of your race, your gender, your national origin, or your religion. I don't think any of that has taken place.
You want to keep an eye and curb excessive physicality in basketball in any level.
Of course, yeah. And I think, flagrant fouls exist because of that. Suspensions, yes, all of that exists because of that. And yes, they do play her. I acknowledge that they play her more physically because your competitors, they don't care. Your competitors are not impressed with the fact that you actually are the face of the league. You actually raising the league's profile. You went from flying commercial to flying private when she came in the league. That is all true. Those are all truisms. Those are all things that we can discuss. Competitors don't care, though. Competitors are going to hit the playing surface and still play you hard. And like the People's Champ said, might play you harder. Just because you have done all of those things, that's called being that's called being a superstar. A lot of people hated Mike. They played him harder and tougher because he was running around winning the MVP and scoring titles and first team All NBA. They was playing him hard. The Pistons didn't care. They still had the Jordan rules in '88. They wasn't like, oh yeah, you know what, man, he did. We just win the scoring title, man, and the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and the Steals title. They was like, no, he's getting eliminated this year. That's good. He won all of that. He can take all his trophies and go home because we're advancing and he's not.
I want you to look at Nikola Jokic's body at the beginning of a game and at the end of a basketball game.
Bang him around too.
I mean, again, I get and I know why some of the stuff with Caitlyn is excessive.
Yes.
And
no doubt.
Yeah, the WNBA can do a better job of monitoring that.
Yes.
But at the same time,
and if people need to be punished, they should be. Nobody is saying that anybody should get away with anything excessive just because it's her.
Yeah, but we don't need to take it to.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, I don't think her civil rights have been violated. That was the point that we were making. But yeah, I'm like, if anybody's doing anything excessive, they should be punished. It's not nobody's saying that anybody should get away with anything excessive just because it's her. She shouldn't be treated special in either way. Like, you shouldn't ignore it just because it's her, but you also shouldn't over punish it just because it's her. If any of that makes sense. But yeah, no, that's I think that, you know, I like Angel Reese too. I like both Caitlyn and Angel Reese. I think they're both very good for the sport.
But that moment right there, if that was the origin of all once she did this, bro, that was their moment. That was both their, what they call it, that was both their big one.
Yeah, that was.
They have been in the lexicon ever since.
Let's talk about what Paige Bueckers said about black women head coaches in the WNBA. I thought this was interesting, and I think it deserves our attention. Dallas Wings star Paige Bueckers called out the league's glaring lack of black women head coaches, stating that black women deserve, quote, equal opportunity and no discrimination, unquote. Following a game against the Chicago Sky, Bueckers pointed out the representation gap, emphasizing that black women who shaped her own life built the foundation for the WNBA. Her comments highlighted a historic low in diversity that marks the first season since 2020 without a black woman serving as head coach, despite nearly 80% of the players being people of color. Bueckers noted that they should get the same consideration as white men and white women to hold important leadership positions in the league. Let me ask the People's Champ, does Bueckers have a point about lack of black women head coaches, or is the disparity simply a coincidence? What say you?
You know, WNBA got rid of that damn DEI. Get it out of here. None of that DEI stuff. Get gone. I mean, man, you know, it's one of these tired conversations that we have across sports.
Yep.
And, you know, this is going to piss people off. But, like, you know, Captain Obvious here, black people are good at sports.
Yes.
So, I mean, you would think the majority of most sports, the participants are going to be black. So you would think that would translate to being able to coach it and curate it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to build it and cultivate it. So, I mean, you know, just a thought. I mean, shout out to Paige Bueckers for pointing out the obvious. But, I mean, this happens in the NBA. Like, we're still waiting for Sam Cassell to get his first head coaching job.
Yep.
And who knows when Rajon Rondo will get his.
Yep.
You know, the NFL, we can have the same conversation. You can have a conversation in Major League Baseball about the players.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, you know, it's just something that is constantly going to be up for discussion until the numbers show otherwise. Like, I don't know who's the governing body to say hire more black people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or interview more black people so you have more qualified black people to choose from, since that's always the comeback. Like, well, they go for the most qualified person.
Sure.
Well, interview as many black folks as possible till you find one that's more qualified than the one you got your mind set on already.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I think, you know, obviously I concur with all of that. And, you know, I was having this conversation because somebody posted about this in one of the basketball groups I was in. And I said, you know, everything that's racial isn't racist. I said, if 30% of the NHL head coaches were black, I would think that was strange, too, because 99% of the players in the history of the NHL have been white. I'm like, I would think that was bizarre. I'm just going to be real.
it looked weird as hell.
Of course. I'm like that. I'm like, who wouldn't think that was bizarre? I'm like, that has nothing to do. I'm like, and I'm bliggity black. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and proud. I'm like, but I would think that was strange. I'm like, wouldn't you? I'm like, you don't think white people would be like, man, why are 30% of the head coaches in the NHL black when 99% of the players in the history of the sport have been white? I'm like, that would be odd. I'm like, so the fact that 70% of the women in the history of the WNBA have been black, the players, and there are 0 black head coaches, of course that's odd. I'm like, of course you would see that's troubling. You have 0 of them. So, yeah, I'm like, everything that's racial isn't racist. We just looking at the racial disparity.
Right.
And you don't have one black woman, you know, filling any of these positions. And I think that her words are interesting, you know, and that's why I quoted them. She said, equal opportunity and no discrimination. So again, I'm not inside of women's basketball as heavily as I am the men's basketball, or the NBA, I should say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I follow it more than I once did, but I don't follow it as closely as I do the NBA.
I got you.
So, you know, I was reading an article about this, and I took some of Candace Parker's quotes. And so I'm just going to read some of them. You know, just a couple of them. She said, quote, "There's a number of statistics and analytics that lead toward the fact that there is a gap, and it doesn't have to do with capability or being able to do the job," unquote. And then the next thing she said is, quote, "I think it's having the opportunity and being able to establish what is the criteria. And once that is being said, then we can go forward with making sure that we put measures in place to make sure that there's an opportunity for these voices and these people to be seen. We've seen the impact that the NBA has had with African American head coaches and parameters that are put in place. Maybe that's something that needs to be put in place with the WNBA, unquote. Did you have something, nephew, before I get into my next question?
No, so what I wanted to just talk about is it's not necessarily a point to the race of the person who's coaching a particular sport or whatnot. It's more so that we're kind of just losing altogether the people who played the sport being able to actually coach the sport. Like, for example, like you look at baseball managers back in the 70s and the 80s compared to now, managers ain't the ones who's making the lineup cards. It's more so the front office. Same thing with basketball. It's like, yeah, you got a coach there and they got a style that they probably want to play. Yep. But at the end of the day, it's the front office who's really making those decisions at the end of the day. So I just, outside of football, I feel like we kind of we're losing recipes as a society and as a culture when it comes to just how information and how experiences get passed down from generation to generation.
No, I mean, you know what? I think there is something to that because, I mean, look, there's no diversity on Everybody Has One. You know what I'm saying? Like, because people hire who they know. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think that there is something to that.
And I'm not saying that is despite the point. I'm just saying that's a part. I feel that's another layer to it as well.
I agree. No, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. Like, I think that people just hire, you know, who they know and who's in proximity to them. And, you know, so, you know, that was the question that I was going to get into. But because I think that there is something to that. Like, there is something to proximity to people, proximity to these, you know, to general managers. And you're right. Like, it's, you know, what that role entails, who's doing what. And with that in mind.
And some things are just baked in.
Yes.
I mean, for real, like, I think with some of this stuff and to kind of call balls and strikes, you know, some of the stuff is kind of like one of those things where whether it's true or not, it's just kind of one of those things. So you abide by it.
Right.
Like, you know, don't stare at the sun too long.
Right.
You know, they're like, whether it's true or not, it's like just some people don't do because it's just something that we're just innately just programmed not to do.
Yeah, because and before I get to that, one of the things that Candace Parker also pointed out, and that was pointed out in the article that I read, is that in this last cycle of hires, 2 of the male coaches that were hired had never coached women before. 2 of the male head coaches. And, you know, that's when she was talking about criteria, you know, like, you know, what's the criteria? Like, because you know, if you have too loose a criteria or no criteria, then people can just hire whomever they want. And listen,
because who's to say that like them not coaching women before should be a disqualifier?
Correct. I was just, so to that point, with that in mind, let me ask the people's champ, should there be a set of clear criteria for a head coaching position in the WNBA? Should there be a matriculation process, or should it remain up to the discretion of the franchise? What say the people's champ?
Can we do something where the league, the front offices of the league are made aware of the candidates per said team prior to the interview, prior to the team's coaching process, and then like a review after a hire's made of said interviews, and then kind of have like have a analyst crew that like reviews their process and how their process works and why this person. I mean, we're kind of like counting on a lot of integrity.
I was going to say, like we getting in the weeds, I think.
But it's like, I mean, I don't know, because see, when you say a criteria, I still think there'll be ways where they'll just be like, this is my criteria, dog. So.
Right. Yeah. And you know, and that's why I asked. You know, should there be that, you know, like a league-wide, like should the WNBA pass down a criteria? Should the WNBA say, listen, we're going to have a matriculation process? In other words, you know, let's say I'm gonna use let's just use the Dallas Stars, or not Dallas Stars. Damn, yeah, Dallas Wings. I'm thinking about NHL. Use the Dallas Wings. Your first assistant will matriculate into the head coaching spot when said coach leaves. I'm spitballing, bro. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the way it should be,
right?
But I'm saying, like, do you think there should be a matriculation process? Do you think there should be a clear set of criteria set by the league, or do you think each franchise should have its own discretion? Like, because ultimately, do you really want to review, let's say, the Charlotte Hornets and how they did they process? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you really care? Because I mean, some of these franchises are perpetually bad, so they always hire bad coaches, and and failure is an option. When
like I said,
franchise, you know what I'm saying? So,
I don't know what the fix is. Because again, like when you if you leave it to each team is an individual entity, and they'll just be like, all right, well, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep rolling as such,
right?
And it's like, even with the matriculation system, I mean, if the criteria is set up where it's like, hey, I mean,
right, yeah,
Jason cool and all.
Yeah, you'll just make sure that the right people are in position to matriculate. Yeah,
who's to say when it's Jason's turn to get called up? I think you'll be better as a film guy.
Right.
Wait, an assistant last year.
Right. Yeah.
Up for the head. But we need you in the film room.
Right.
But Steve over here, fresh out of grad school, coaching assistant. I mean, like,
and I agree.
What stops that?
That's why I said, should the league create criteria? Should the league create benchmarks, like, or
that's why I was kind of,
should each franchise have its own?
That's what I'm thinking in terms of, I mean, well, okay, I guess, maybe you have the benchmarks set universally, I guess.
I mean, yeah, and I'm not even saying that's the answer. I'm just asking.
Me neither. I don't, like you're saying,
I don't know that that's the right answer.
I don't think you can. I mean, you can reverse social engineer shit, bro.
Right. I mean, and I, I'm still kind of like, listen, each franchise is independently owned. I think that you still want people to be able to do what they want to do with their franchises. I'm in principle, I'm kind of against a league-wide criteria.
Right.
I don't mind some guidelines, you know what I'm saying? Because somebody might want to go outside the box, right? You might want to hire a college assistant. You might want to hire a Division II head. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might see something, like I think about Phil Jackson. I believe, like, he was like coaching in the Canadian League when the Bulls hired him. Like, I think that was his only head coaching experience, and he turned out to be great. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to stop people from being creative and thinking outside the box. And also, like, you don't want to prevent people from failing either. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Clippers was bad for years, and you want to allow failure to be enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can fail over and over again too.
But it's like, and to your point, sometimes I feel all of those things are used and can be used to still push the black candidates back at the end of the line.
Yeah, I agree. No, and I think that, yes, I agree. So,
like, even with all these other initiatives, are like, well, hey, man, everybody's got a shot, but you're number 5.
Right. Yes, I agree. Like, so I'm with you. I don't necessarily know what the answer is, other than, people just need to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and then that's just a kindergarten. That's just a kindergarten approach.
I mean, the simple thing sometimes is the best way to go.
And I'm like, I think that if everybody is given a fair opportunity, I believe that,
and
you'd have, some black women. Heck, I'm not even saying that it would be equal. I'm not even saying that they would have half of the slots or a third of them. I'm just saying that
that's just not reality.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they would have some, like it would not, the number would not be 0 if, given an opportunity, because again, the majority of female basketball is going to be black women and other women of color. So
But
there's not going to be any possible way that if opportunities are not simply parsed out, but are freely given, that women would be.
But the conversation, like I said, the conversation never stops, because again, it's always something bigger. That's the root. Because it just, if we ever get to the point where it's close to equal opportunities, or we just live in a world where it just exists, where it is equal in terms of the coaches in the WNBA, NBA, or pick your sport, then the conversation will turn into, team ownership.
Sure.
And you see what
it always goes up.
It always goes up.
It always goes up. Yep. No, I mean, I think that's a good conversation. I think it's always good to have those uncomfortable conversations
For
about,
sure.
how you fix things and make sure that everybody gets a good opportunity to hold the highest positions in sports.